Read girlfriend, 29F, messages with another guy, feeling insecure. Too long did not read. Read messages of girlfriend of 5 years. Texting with coworker who has history of jumping into long-term relationships to swoop. Texts found not sexual but seemed over the top for a new male friend whom has a history of trying to be a relationship ruiner, but girlfriend confirmed she had deleted text messages. Feeling insecure and not sure what to do. My girlfriend, 29F, and I, 29M, have been together for 5 years and living together for about 4 or so. We're close enough that we share things like bank pins, phone passwords, etc. Recently she talked about a new guy who had started at her work part-time whom recently became single. Another married woman at her work, she is an EMT, had been having some relationship struggles and the guy was swooping in to be her support system via text and call, and it sounds like things became dangerously close, assuming that it didn't, and I'm getting the full story, to going over the edge into full-on cheating territory. My girlfriend spoke well of the man before this, saying people found him attractive and that he was really nice and a good listener or something of the sort, aka she could see how it could happen. Fast forward a few weeks and it's around 8:30 at night, we are home alone, and she's laughing at some text messages. I ask her what's funny, who it is, and it's this same guy. I don't want to be overbearing and I let it go, trusting her in the moment. She proceeds to stay in bed for 30 minutes or so while I go do something else during a time we are usually hanging out, clearly very encapsulated in her texts with this guy. I wasn't feeling great about all this and probably should have talked to her, but I snooped instead. We're fairly open and I'm sure she has read my messages too, and she is aware that I've glanced before. Not an excuse though. I didn't find anything super incriminating, but what I did find made me pretty insecure. There were pages of messages, mostly chatting and quizzing each other up on life things like traveling, sharing memes, but to a level above what I would think is just a friendship. I would never text another girl in the same manner. What concerned me was a text from her. They were supposed to be on a night shift together the other night. That initiated a conversation and said, "I am sad we didn't get to have our work date night tonight," or something along those lines. He responded with agreed, and the conversation back and forth was talking about how much fun they are when they are together, and that they should try to line up working together more. Knowing the guy's history, this had me quite concerned and I decided to ask her about it. She stated that they were just friends and that I didn't really get it. This is just common firehall banter and she only sees him like once a month and has never hung out with him outside of work. No reason to not believe the last part. I asked her if she ever deleted messages between them and she said yes. She said that he had been inappropriate a few times and she knew I would get upset if I saw it. And that he just got out of a long-term relationship. I asked her what that meant and she was kind of vague, but said no pictures were sent by him. More along the lines of, "You're really cool," etc. But I'm a little suspicious as that doesn't seem too bad, so why delete? I asked her what she did when he did that. She said it happened about 3 times. She ignored once and told him it was inappropriate the 3rd time and to stop. These messages were gone when I snooped. What hurts me and makes me insecure is that this guy was clearly showing that he was interested, enough for her to want to delete messages. Yet she still chose to text him about how fun they are together and use terms like work date night, knowing that I may read it. I have no evidence to believe anything sexual has happened, but still feel very insecure about it all. I want to read her trash messages or check for deleted messages or get her to prove what she is saying was in the deleted texts herself, but I'm obviously feeling very torn about it all. I also just want to trust her, but I'm really having trouble for some reason on this one. We also have intimacy dead bedroom issues which I believe are root caused by a traumatic sexual abuse incident she suffered as a child. This could be factoring into my insecurity if I'm playing devil's advocate. I know I'm not doing this from a great approach and feel like either me or her are splintering us on this. How should I approach this? Read her messages or confront her further? Bro, deleting messages because she know you won't like them and continuing to talk with him is crossing a line and breaching trust. I would cut my losses, change your passwords, move out, and move on. Best of luck. Dude. Run. Yeah, she's being very dodgy here. She's either cheating or preparing to cheat. Tell her she has to cut all contact with this county worker or you're done. If you don't do anything, you know what will happen. What's worse is that she's letting it happen. So many red flags. Confront her and express how this relationship makes you feel. It's not about this time. It's about next time. And the time after that. Is that really what you want to sign up for? Bro, She does not respect you enough to shut down that friendship the second he crossed the line. I want you to seriously think about that. If you're married and you had a co-worker cross the line with you, wouldn't you feel the need to stop that immediately to save your marriage? I say marriage because you're obviously on that path. You need to make this a bigger deal, my dude. If she hasn't started getting feelings for this guy yet, then she will in more time. She's going to be dating him soon, bro. There is no winning. Been in this situation before. You try and say something and create a boundary, you become controlling and insanely jealous. You do nothing and watch this unfold before your eyes while you've done nothing to prevent it. Shitty situation for sure, man. I am sorry. I'm not sure how you can get deleted messages back now. I would tell her you're uncomfortable with the relationship between the two of them and would like her to stop talking to him outside of work. My husband called me a SLT during an argument. Now he's apologizing, saying it was just a slip-up. IF 29 had a rough life growing up from my teen years to my mid-20s. I worked several jobs. One of the worst was being a sex worker. I regretted I hated those 4 awful years of my life and the awful experiences I had while being a sex worker, as well as my abusive ex of 6 years. Getting up and out of that hole I was stuck in took too much time and effort from me. My now husband M34 met me while I was struggling and helped me plan for a better life away from where I was living. He helped me get a decent job and enrolled me in programs and helped me do the things I couldn't then. I got married to him too, 5 years after we met, and am living in another city working an office job that I'm happy with. Normally we don't fight, but things can get tense sometimes, but over Sim. Thursday morning I was in the kitchen exchanging texts with my coworker. My husband kept staring at me while drinking his coffee. He then asked who I was texting and I said a coworker. He stared off for a minute, then started asking questions about said coworker. I answered each one of his questions in full. He then asked if it was normal to text my coworkers early in the morning. First of all, it was 8:40 a.m. And second of all, yes, we text to talk about tasks at the office, no big deal. My husband got quiet, but his eyes were fixed on me. I noticed and asked what's wrong. He out of nowhere asked to look at our conversation. I asked what the deal was, since he's never asked to look at my phone our entire relationship. He said he didn't know and that none of that sat right with him, and he just needed to read the texts my coworker and I've been exchanging because he had a feeling I was lying to him. I was upset. I told him if I show him and turns out I wasn't lying, then he owes me an apology. He threw a fit, saying I was making excuses and gaslighting him over a bunch of texts. I said it's not because of that, it's just that he was being unreasonable. He replied that if he pull the same shit I was trying to pull and then stall, then I'd freak the fuck out and become suspicious. I calmed down and was about to hand him the phone, but I stopped when he said, "Don't worry. This totally has nothing to do with your past and you being a goddamn SLT before I met you and made you become a respectable human being, but you seem to be acting strange lately and I don't like how you keep dismissing my concerns." I was shocked. Lightedly, he has never said anything like this to me during our entire relationship before, after marriage. I asked him to repeat what he said, but he kept asking that I hand him my phone without delaying. I got up from my chair and lashed out at him, saying he just insulted me and called me a SLT and still expected me to prove to him I wasn't doing anything wrong. I said he was out of his mind to think he can hold anything he's done for me over my head, because I struggled on my own and gained what I have now by myself. He proceeded to argue that if it wasn't for him I would have still been living with abusive ex who treated me horribly or in a much worse place, then started listing all the good things he'd done for me and how much he helped me get to where I am now with a stable income and a good social image. I told him to go fuck himself and walked out. I took my stuff and went to work. He didn't call nor text all day. I cried real hard because of what he said and FWLT, like I was let down, because literally my husband has always been the only one who didn't use my circumstances against me. To know that I was wrong about him made me feel crushed and devastated. I didn't go home after I got off work but went to a friend's house to spend a couple of days there. He only called once to apologize for his slip-up and that he will be coming to pick me up and take me home, but I didn't give him a clear answer. I kept saying I needed time. He explained that he didn't mean what he said because he was just mad at the time and slipped up. He sincerely hoped I'd forgive him, saying we're stronger than a petty fight, but I'm having a difficult time moving past what he said. Oh ho ho ho. When I read the title, I thought he called you SLT, like some people call others stupid. Calling someone names is not acceptable at all. But the thing he did is even more than that. He rubbed your past on your face and is playing the savior. It is an asshole move, which if it was done to me, I would question his motives for being with me and getting married to me. It does not sound like a slip-up, it is a deliberate action. It means that he had these exact thoughts before and now he is letting you know. It would be a total deal-breaker for me. Dear Op, I am sorry you had to go through it. You are enough and precious as you are. Please make the best decision for yourself. Husband's a major dick. This wasn't a slip-up. This is how he truly feels and that's seriously fucked up. I'm so sorry. You sound like you have overcame so much just to have it thrown back in your face. This is a huge red flag. You really need to reevaluate your marriage. He started listing all the stuff he did for you like now you owe him or something. That's gross as hell. He's gross as hell. It sounds like he slipped up by showing you the real him. This is a huge red flag. Please be careful. It wasn't a slip-up. This is how he truly feels and views you. Please leave him Op. Feel free to give us an update. He thinks you're below him. He doesn't respect you. Move on. Well, now you know what he truly thinks of you, unfortunately. If you were me, there'd be no coming back from that. Also, your husband has no idea what gaslighting means. He slips out what he really though about you. AKA, I had to save this SL Euro T and change her life. No. He's a fucking asshole. You don't help people to hold that shit above them in a manipulative manner. You don't deserve that. We all have to do things that is sometimes not pleasant but that's not what defines us. You got out, you grew, and that is a fucking accomplishment and he can't take that from you and you shouldn't let him. He has some serious thinking to do and honestly, I'd be concerned with the dismissive attitude on his part. Wife admits she sees potential to develop feelings for my brother. I, M28, confronted my wife, F26, and asked if she is attracted to my brother, M26, after several family outings over the summer. My brother has always had a thing for my wife. No biggie, my wife and I have laughed about it for years. Wrote it off as a weird, funny thing. Up until recently I have never worried about it. I was out of the country for work late June, during which my side of the family got together and my wife brought our kids, too, to the event. I returned just in time for 4th of July festivities at our house. Both of our families came to hang and enjoy the celebration. Later in the evening I noticed my wife and brother being awfully giggly and chummy with each other. Noticeably more so than usual. To the point where it made me uncomfortable. It was a innocent hand on a shoulder while laughing etc. I wrote it off again. Just having a good time, meh whatever. Late summer we all went on a family trip. Me, my wife and kids, my wife's brothers and my brother. Note. My brother lives with my wife's brother in a different city. It was a 5-day trip. We stayed in an Airbnb and saw the local sights. One of the nights the group of us went to a nicer restaurant. My wife sat directly across from my brother at the large table. I was the last to sit down and ended up next to my brother. It was a nice dinner but as drinks flowed I noticed that my wife was paying particular attention to her conversation with my brother. Chatting about shows they like, funny quotes, favorite episodes etc. Note 2. My brother and wife have a lot more in common than my wife and I: photography, baking, Harry Potter, LOTR, reading etc. At one point my wife stands to have a restroom break and I swear on everything I saw a look pure happiness, bliss on her face as she excused herself. All of this directed at my brother. She later denies this but it was burned into my memory. I know the look well, I used to receive it. After the trip I ask my wife, do you have feelings for or are you attracted to my brother? She pauses, thinking, and says she knew I had been thinking that she did and asked if I wanted to hear what I want to hear, or hear the truth. Obviously I chose the truth, to which she replies that she is not attracted to him but she can see the potential to develop feelings for him. This puzzles me because in my mind there needs to be some form of attraction, e.g. physical, emotional, mental. I asked her to clarify and she said that about 2.5 years ago at a different family function she had a moment of realization and told herself, whoa, I need to be very careful here, and that, she should not allow herself to spend any one-on-one time with him, because it would be dangerous. We talked it through at length and I felt okay with what was discussed and the conclusion. Which was that she doesn't not have feelings or an attraction to my brother and that she recognized that there is a 0.01% chance that anything would come of it. She wouldn't let it. However, I have found myself constantly worrying about the future and what it holds. I've thought about the fact that she could be lying to keep our marriage and family together. She backpedaled pretty hard after my initial reaction to her description. I'll be out of the country for work again over Halloween, Thanksgiving and Christmas. All times when our families typically get together. So I'm definitely not looking forward to that. Is there a legitimate concern here on my part, or am I reading too far into this? In the next year she is going to cheat on you with your brother if your brother has any intention to. Sorry. I think you married someone that is not the best person to be with. What you've described here and what she says are two different things. At some point, 2.5 years ago, your brother having a thing for your wife stopped being a funny anecdote and veered into potentially dangerous territory. Their interactions changed. So much so that you noticed. I'm not sure what to suggest, but I understand your concerns and do think they are legitimate. Once feelings are disclosed or become obvious, there's a fine line between what is appropriate and what is considered crossing a boundary. She said that about 2.5 years ago at a different family function she had a moment of realization and told herself, "Whoa, I need to be very careful here," and that she should not allow herself to spend any one-on-one time with him, because it would be dangerous. You asked for the truth and this is what she told you. She doesn't trust herself to be alone with him, so why should you trust her? A reserved, moderate response. Having an attraction, because of course she's attracted to him, to someone else is perfectly normal. It's what someone does with it that matters. It's great that she's open and honest about it. Will she cheat? No one on Reddit can tell you that, of course. Sounds like you might need to talk about it more. You also need to trust her given her total honesty around it. I'd have a long serious one-on-one talk with my brother if that happened. He cools it down or he won't be a part of your family's life anymore. As far as your wife goes, that's tough because she is starting to stray, albeit emotionally. I'd recommend couples counseling ASAP. Always trust your gut. You are seeing the changes and interactions. Sees potential to develop feeling for my brother. Translates to she is attracted to your brother but she is, or was not going to try and act on it. When she tried to explain her thoughts on your brother and calling it dangerous, seems like she was giving you a forewarning that it's a strong chance that. So you definitely have legitimate concern. You even said she was backpedaling pretty hard when you brought it up to her. Keep your eyes open and trust your instincts. Most times when people post on Reddit about potential infidelity is because something just not sitting right to them even after the explanations confrontation. Good luck op, hope everything works out in your favor. Legitimate. This situation along with your marriage is about to explode. Attraction to an in-law is dynamite and the reveal is the matches. She told you to your face that she will fuck him given the right circumstances. You did not pick the right life partner. I hope you never have to go on an extended work trip ever again. The moment you do, your brother will most definitely invite himself over to your place and your wife's excuse will be, "I don't know, it was all a blur, it just happened. But we can work through this. I think I, 18F, embarrassed my, 36M, boyfriend, but I don't see the issue." Tia to everyone who replies. I have been dating my boyfriend for almost 5 months. I've always been very financially independent, especially after have been kicked out of my house this April unexpectedly. He's also more than financially stable and has the means to pay for things such as eating out at nice places, electronics, etc. His house is big and nice and he can afford to shop big brands at the outlets whenever he feels like it. I am a first-year college student with a part-time job. I make a higher than average hourly wage, and since I am a huge introvert, most of my extra money goes to paying for things for when we go out. Let me preface this by saying that he has never asked me to pay for anything. I always either offer to pay for food or for his things because I want to and know I have the means to. I buy gourmet sandwiches and cook steaks for him almost every other day, in which I pay for. I have even gone as far to pay $1,600 for repairs on his Cadillac and $500 for an Xbox Series X for an early birthday present. This is not me complaining. Gift giving is one of my love languages and I love doing things for him. I fill up his tank every time I see it's on empty. He will pay for things and will want to at points, but I'd call it 75/25. He also drives, and since I don't have a car, I pay for things to thank him and to be fair in our relationship. That's just how I was raised. I am going to visit my grandmother here in Florida tomorrow. I have never really spoken to her until I was kicked out. She lives in a very expensive part of Florida. Her birthday is also coming up in 2 days, which I did not know about. She is wealthy and I know she's going to want to pay for everything, but I'd hate for her to have to pay for her own birthday meal, especially with me not having seen her in years. This is where my boyfriend comes in. About a week ago, I loaned him $200 after he started to complain about how his friend had not paid him back $200. I cash-apped him $200. He never thanked me for it, which bothered me, but I let it go. Come to this morning. I don't have much money in my checking at the moment to cover an expensive dinner for my grandma. I only have about $90 in my checking, which I would need for travel and other things. I don't get paid until next Friday, which would be the day I leave Florida. I put off asking him until he drops me off at my apartment, but I explained to him my situation and how bad I feel for asking. I promise him I'd pay him back. I expressed to him how bad I felt about asking for something back. As he was driving back, he started to laugh like he was embarrassed. He started to tell me how he couldn't believe I was asking for the money back and how he wanted to pretend like this had never happened. I told him I was sorry and that I was embarrassed myself, but I wanted to do something nice for my grandmother on her birthday. He kept going on and on about how I had lack of self-awareness and that he couldn't begin to believe I was asking for money, even going to start suggesting I need dire financial help. I began to get a bit offended myself, so I apologized again and went up to my apartment. I know asking for gifts back is wrong, but between everything I have done for him and my situation, I was hoping he'd be more understanding. How do I go about discussing this with him and working things out, if I am in the wrong? Thank you. Forget the age gap. If a 35-yo man needs to borrow $200 from his 18-yo GF, he should be the one who is laughed at. It's time for you to find a real man, regardless of age. How are you a teenage sugar mama to a 36-year-old grown-ass man? Dump him. Holy Jesus, age gap. Honestly, he sounds like an asshole. If he is that well off, he shouldn't be taking your money anyways. I see how you are trying to be giving, caring, and equal, but clearly you need it more than him, and if he acts like this when you ask for help, yet you are dropping every dime trying to show him you care. I wouldn't want to work this out with him. Sounds to me like you need a new boyfriend. Sounds like you have a sugar daddy arrangement going on, but you're the sugar daddy. Guy is totally taking advantage of you. He must be bragging like hell to his friends. Hey, I'm dating this 18-year-old college student and she pays for everything. I gotta go, there's a college nearby. He is not the one, dear. I'm sorry, but what does an almost 40-years-old man sees in a barely legal adult anyway? Sis. He's playing you. That was a loan, not a gift. No real man would ever take things from an hourly employed college student. You deserve better, and cook grandma a nice meal for her birthday, she may appreciate it even more.